Hello everybody, welcome to another video from the Road to 2400 series. I haven't done a video for a few days, partly as a way of rewarding myself for actually reaching 2400 on the rapid play side of the ratings on Lichess. So I've been taking a small break from playing for a few days, but I'm back now. Thought I'd do another Puzzle Rush video, and just to go over the rules of this game, if on chess.com by the way, you're given puzzles. They start off easy, they start to get harder and harder and harder, and you try and solve as many as you can. There's no time limit on the ones I do, and if you get 3 wrong in any way, then it's over. So this first one, everything is checks and captures. That first one was pawn takes rook. Next one, we can't do a good check with our queen. We can do one with our rook though, which leads to a mate with rook takes knight. Another one, we could take their rook, they take us back, but instead rook checkmate on h2. Our queen's being attacked. If we take their rook, that's pretty bad because we'll lose our queen, but we have queen takes h2 mate. It was guarded by our bishop. This one actually isn't a capture, but it's to do with a check. It's that if their knight wasn't on the board, we would go bishop g5 check. And this is a pin. Their knight can't move, no way guarding their knight. We will win it next turn. So win piece. Passed pawns must be pushed. c7. Then rook to b8. If they go rook to a8, we take on a8. But they didn't make us do that part. Next one, checks. Now if we take the rook, that's really bad. They'll take us back. But with queen f1, they take us. We take with the rook, back rank checkmate, back row checkmate. This one I don't see anything too special here. I think just take the bishop and win a piece. Checkmate on g2. Checkmate on f7 with our rook. So the first 10 or so puzzles. Oh no, okay. Made us do the actual checkmate, not just do the first move. Alright, so the first 10 or so are usually like checkmates in 1 or simple captures. The next 10 or so are more difficult, but still shouldn't be too much of a problem. Here they've got 2 undefended pieces, their queen and bishop. We attack both with d5. Our bishop was ready to take their queen, so they saved it but lost their bishop. Alright, no captures, no good threats, but there is a check. They're doing king f8. That looks very dangerous. So I think knight to e6, forking king and queen. When they take us, we take back, discovered check with our rook. And then it was going to be checkmate on f7 with our queen. Alright, this next one, yeah, it's a bit more difficult, but we can attack their queen, their piece they can't really defend enough. They have to move it out of the way. And then that will allow us to take on g2 if they move their queen, but they have actually given us the queen there. So queen takes d6 looks like the best move. I'm just quickly looking at other things because winning a pawn seems very minimal for this kind of a puzzle. Material is equal. Knight g5 does nothing. Knight takes e5 doesn't really help us too much. Knight d5 doesn't do anything. g5, they go knight h5. Or knight e8 actually, and they save their pawn. So yeah, queen takes pawn looks like the winning move, or the move to give us a big advantage. Okay, so this one, bishop takes knight, removing the defending piece. We want to go knight e7 check, but if we do that, their knight on c6 would take us. So we take here. They've actually removed our knight, and we can then win a whole bishop for nothing. So forcing sequence, rook takes rook, I believe. They have to take us back. Then queen to e5 is mating. The king had nowhere to go. Alright, well, king and pawn ending. So push our king up the board. This is the kind of Zugzwang position where neither one of us wants to move our king, because whoever does will lose. So we have to play a move that doesn't move a king, b5. They've gone b4. If we take them, they take us, we have to move the king. So instead, c4. Wasn't actually that easy of an ending. Right, queen takes f2 is the obvious move. I don't see it. Oh, okay. Alright, I thought they'd go king h1, but anyway. I don't see a mate, but I do see a way to do a pin on their queen. Rook to h8. Then king takes rook is forced. Oh, okay. It was a bit difficult because if they had queen takes rook, we had rook h7, which would then fork their queen and king. And if they had done rook g3 check after we took them, we could actually sack our queen with queen takes rook. They have to take with their king, and then we take their queen with our rook, and we end up a rook up. But it didn't make us do that part. Alright, so the only check I see is queen g5, which does skewer their king and rook. If they do queen f4, we can take the queen, then take the rook. Alright, now to take with our rook or take with our queen. Let's see. Take with the queen, they do rook g1, king to h7, bishop to f5, and they could be macing us. So taking with the rook is a lot safer, I think. Now, this one, rook and queen against rook and queen. Material is, we're actually a pawn down, so we have to do something here. c6 check is the move that looks good. They then play king to b8 or c8 or something. And is rook a4 the idea to take their pawn? That'd be my educated guess. Rook to a4, they don't really have a way of defending it. So that is winning. Now as black, I always get this a bit mixed up, but I remember it now. Our pawns are always moving up the board. Their pawns are always moving down. So their pawn that's in the top left-hand corner is actually moving all the way down the board, so it's not about to promote, but our pawn is. So we have to make their rook not able to take our pawn, and then we win the race, making a queen. And it's a somewhat complex ending, but we just hoover up at least two of their pawns and then move our king in. So we would win, but it would take a long time, and there's more than one move, which is probably about the same evaluation, so it's not going to make us guess, because it'd be a bit arbitrary what the right answer would be. Now, this one, undefended pieces, again, their bishop on f4 not defended, so we can do a check to fork their king and bishop and then win it. Right, so okay, what am I missing here? Take their knight. The move they could do then is rook to e1. Then if we move our queen to c8, knight e7 check, but we have a knight on d5, which will take it. So I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, we're fine. Alright, we have a passed a pawn. That's really, really key in endings. So if we can trade queens, we'll be winning. And with that pin, they couldn't stop us trading queens. This next one, bishop to f1 is looking quite good. Bishop f1, they do, I don't know, queen takes bishop, check. We do like king takes. They take our rook, we take their knight, and we end up a piece up. Okay, so yeah, they did that one first, then take their queen, then take their knight. And yeah, it's rook, bishop, and pawn for rook, so we should win with that extra pawn. It's on to white to move. I don't see why we can't do bishop takes f7 mate. Yep, checkmate. Okay, so it wasn't some weird trick. Okay, queen c1 is looking tempting because they have to block with their queen, I think. I guess if they don't, we have queen b2. They have blocked with their queen, then we can deflect their king away from f2 and take into fork. This is quite a nice theme scene here. the sort of motif, the kind of general sort of tabia that I've seen before. Knight takes d5, then if they take the queen, our queen, which they have done, we take their bishop first with check. Now, if they'd have played queen d8 instead of taking our queen, we could have still taken their bishop, they take back with their queen, and then bishop d6, which would have forked their knight on c5 and their then queen on e7. So we don't take their queen, we take their bishop first, then take their queen. We win a piece and a pawn. This one, to me, looks relatively easy, but I could be wrong. Rook takes knight. They take back, we take their rook. If they take our pawn with check, then rook d2, and our bishop on h6 is guarding it, so we're not losing the rook. We've won a knight for a pawn. Queen to f5 looks like the good move here. Threatening mate in 1. They go g6, and then their bishop on f6 would no longer be defended. So win a bishop at least. Now, pawn takes pawn check is the only forcing move I see. Downside is I don't see what to do really after that. There must be something, but I'm missing it. So pawn takes pawn check, king takes. Is queen c4 any good? Because queen g6, I just walk away to g8. Queen c4, they do knight e to d5. Then I guess we could do rook takes rook. They do rook takes. Then knight takes knight. Knight takes, bishop takes check, and we win their queen. So yeah, okay. I think we win a piece with queen c4. Yeah, and there were various captures. So again, it would be a bit arbitrary to decide which move is stronger. Here they're about to promote, but I don't really care about that because I think if we could play rook e2 and have the rook guarded, it would be mate. So king to f3, they play rook d2, then rook c1, and they get mated. Yeah, rook c1, there's nowhere for the king to go, and then kiss of death, checkmate. With an old Arabian mate, I'm not quite sure of the way to describe it, but either way, it's a win. Okay, material is us being a pawn down. The Smyslov rule is at least interesting here. We could just take the bishop and brave whatever attack they may get. Queen d4, queen takes queen, bishop takes, and then like bishop f5. We're not really getting anything out of that. But it feels like... Oh, wait. Is g3 the strongest move? Because I've just seen their queen can't go anywhere on the 4th rank. Like c4, d4, etc. Every square on the 4th rank is covered by a white piece. Queen h5, queen h6 are not available for black's queen, and g5 is also not available. So I think g3 wins their queen. And yeah, they have to... I think their best move is actually bishop takes f1. We would have taken their queen, then bishop takes e2. And they get they get a rook and a pawn for a queen. Okay, now this one, one of my favourite moves, knife f5, looks good. So it threatens mate on h8, and I don't see what they do other than queen to f2. Then king to h5, there are no more checks. And I think every move is mating or losing their queen. So knight f5, move the king, yeah, then queen takes. And actually I'm not sure what the right move is here, because... Oh, actually I do know. If we do queen takes, there's rook to e5. So let's just keep it simple with pawn takes. Oh, okay. Now these positions... I'm not really a fan of these positions, really, because they look so kind of convoluted. I believe the answer is c3. The reason is that the black queen actually doesn't have a single light square to move to. Every single dark square the queen moves to will have knight checks to fork king and queen. The only move that gives us any challenge is queen takes f4. But then I believe g3, and again they have no light squares. And every single dark square that I'm looking at allows the knight to fork the king and queen. So these positions like almost never happen in a real game. So the other ones are actually recognizable patterns. I've almost never seen this sort of weird trap where the queen is in the centre of the board, but she literally can't move anywhere due to a knight fork in this sort of ending position. But it's still nice to have a sort of interesting position that's unusual. Now, this one, the power of double check. Bishop to b4, double check. King d1 is forced, then queen e1 mate. So not the tempting bishop takes queen idea, just mate them. Power of double checks. They always have to move a king when they're in double check. Here, their knight on c7 is vulnerable. If we attack it though, knight d5. So I believe knight to b4 threatens knight takes c2 as well. No, it was wrong. Okay. Must have been something else. Knight g4 maybe? I'm not sure. Alright, I thought knight b4 was winning a piece. Alright, never mind. Okay, so king to d2 would not work because they would fork, they would pin with rook d8. So king e2, rook d8 anyway. Right, so if we move our queen to like b3, they do rook takes rook, and we've... Oh, and then I guess we have queen e6 and we get a bishop. But either way, we're not doing too well. If we do rook, queen takes rook, though, we're guessing a lot more for our material. And then not rook takes bishop, rook takes rook. Get two rooks for the queen. Next up is this. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes, rook to a1, skewer, queen to b4, rook fb1. I don't believe they can save the knight. Oh, they've done queen c4. Okay. Take their knight and win. Knight d takes b4 is looking interesting because of the fact that their queen might get deflected away from their bishop, but maybe this isn't right. There's also bishop takes pawn check, which again could be stronger. So bishop takes pawn check, pawn takes, knight takes b4, queen c3 though, and then they mate on h8, so perhaps that isn't the right plan. Okay, I believe knight takes e3 is strongest because of pawn takes, bishop check, and then we can grab their bishop. I think, yeah. Ooh, we've got a big attack here. I don't quite see how to break through though. I've got things like b6, check on e6, and rook takes c7. So if rook takes c7, king takes is almost forced. And again, it might not be, but it looks it. b6 check, king c8, or king d7 doesn't work because of mate on e6. So king c8, pawn takes a7 might be okay. Because now if we go b6 straight away, I think they might have enough defense. Maybe not though. It's difficult because b6 and b6 and rook takes c7 both look pretty interesting. So one more time, just for my own sanity, let's have a look at it again. Rook takes c7 is the most forcing line on the board. They have king b8 though as a sort of bailout move. But then we have like b6 or even rook takes b7. And b6, they go a6, I guess. We just have this nagging advantage, but I don't see a win. That's the thing. But b6 on its own, what do? They go, like if they go rook d7, for example, I don't know, maybe they're okay. But bishop e6 wins the exchange. Queen e7 doesn't work. Yeah, I like b6 more, but it's very close. Oh, alright, they're sacking here. Okay, so making it obvious that it's the right move. Oh dear, and then these positions are, in a way, they're practical because they do happen occasionally, but I've almost never had this kind of position before. So I have to create a mating net around their king. Rook to b5 is like one of the sort of no-brainer moves, but it doesn't threaten anything. I believe that king to f7 is the best move, because another key feature is you want to have your bishop and king, bishop blocking the rook checks, but also dominating the file or rank in front of the enemy king. So here the white king can't move to the b file. They're stuck on a from our king and bishop. Now rook to b5 again is like a simple move, but I think rook to e8, e1 is winning. They have to go king h5, a4. I keep thinking it's h5 because it's on the board is flipped. But yeah, then rook check and skewer winning their rook. Alright, there's bishop d4 is looking quite good. If they take anything with their queen, we take something back and win. Queen takes bishop doesn't work. Yeah, bishop d4 is looking good. If queen takes queen, knight takes bishop d4, then rook takes rook, bishop takes check, rook f2, and I guess then rook takes g2. It just doesn't feel as good somehow. It just doesn't feel quite as good. But then again, I could be wrong. Right, I need to look at queen takes queen again just to make sure. Queen takes queen, knight takes queen is the only move, I think. Then bishop d4 now. Where do they go? They could do rook takes f3, but then rook takes g2 is looking very, very strong. King h1. I don't actually see how we win though. Bishop d4. Okay, they do queen takes bishop. We do rook takes. They do knight takes. Then like queen e3, and it's not looking very good, but maybe they're surviving. If queen takes rook, queen takes queen, they're pinned. If queen takes queen, bishop takes f2, and we win. I just like bishop d4. It's my first instinct. Yeah. And then, actually, is there... Yeah, bishop takes f2 check as the intermediary move, and then rook takes queen, winning the material. Just looked easier. Next up, queen g8 seems to be the obvious first option. I don't see how to proceed though. That's the thing that troubles me. Queen g8, king h6. Is h4 the correct move? Stopping king g5? It looks it. And the thing is that if we go h4 straight away, they have queen e6. So we have to check them first. Then play h4, I think. Because queen h8, king g5, there's no checks that are any good. And they don't have any checks that are good either. Okay, so we're defending our d-pawn enough, but maybe not being able to kind of put pressure on them too much. I think queen d4 would be the right move, because if rook c2, then I think queen a1 actually might be interesting. And maybe not straight away, but like rook takes c4, rook takes d2, and some sort of weird like queen a1 idea. Maybe not though. Queen a1, queen takes queen, d1 queen, Rook e1, queen takes rook. Yeah, I actually like queen a1. It's just such a nice looking move. And then queen takes rook. Okay, doing well so far. On 44 out of 45. Got one wrong. I'll be interested to see what the answer is at the end. Let's see. Here, there is rook takes knight as a forcing move. If they take with their queen, I don't really see where to go next after that. There's rook to e3. Rook to e3, queen moves somewhere. Where does the queen move? c4 potentially, or d2? No, one of them or the other. Then bishop takes knight, and black's getting a sort of quite a big attack on the king's side. There's no undefended white pieces. That's the thing I'm noticing. And it's the kind of position where black doesn't really have enough to have like some amazing strike. So rook e3 definitely looks like the most active move. Here I have to wonder if knight to e4 is the best move, because their queen will move somewhere, d1 potentially, or a5. The a5 doesn't really achieve much, but it's a move. Anyway, bishop takes knight, pawn takes back, then queen to g6 check, and we're again continuing with this big attack. So knight to e4 helps bring a piece into the game. Yeah, I like bishop takes, and so does the computer. Black actually has a threat here. Their threat to knight to check, and then they win our queen. So we do have bishop b7, but that fails to queen takes d7. They've also got the threat bishop on c8 hanging, so they could take us. So if nothing else, there's king d8, which does avoid all those tactics. But then queen b6 check, rook c7. I think it's okay for black. And we're a piece up. So it is possible that that's the solution, just playing the simple sort of defending moves. But I have to look at bishop b4 check. Pawn c3, I don't really see where it's going. I'm going to say king d8. Correct. Queen check, we're pinned, so rook c7 is forced. Yeah, so this time round it wasn't a line where... Sorry, I'm now reconsidering. Yeah, it wasn't a line where we actually had to win material, it was just maintaining the advantage. Here we're down two pieces, so taking the queen just has to be correct, I think. Could be wrong. I have been wrong before, but it looks like one of the only moves possible. Okay, so rook takes queen. Now, queen to a6 is the move I'm looking at. Queen to b1 is also interesting. Then they block with their knight. We go d3. What do they do here? Like bishop to b4 or something, and they're sort of holding the position together. Now, queen a6, there are no checks. And I don't see how they're guarding the bishop and the rook. So we're winning a piece. And then rook and knight versus queen. The queen wins a huge portion of the time. So I'm liking our odds in that kind of position. Alright. What next? We have got... Material is more or less equal, or a pawn down, but that's not a huge deal. We're sort of pinned. If we play like knight c4, they do bishop takes f4 pin. I am looking hard at rook takes g7 check. King to king to taking us. Then bishop h6 check. king h8. Queen g5, but I don't see... Oh, no, bishop g7. Bishop g7. If king takes, queen g5, we're mating them. If king g8, I think bishop f6 actually wins. Because I don't see how they stop mate on the g file. So yeah, rook takes check is looking very effective. Bishop here. Then bishop g7 I think is the key move. Okay, and they didn't make us do the next in the sequence. It wasn't easy. Now we're a bishop up, so again this could be a position where we just have to survive, not actually flourish. Rook takes f6, then queen takes, king takes, queen to f8, king to the e file, e6 let's say, bishop check on f5, king to e5. Don't really see how we're winning. It could be winning, but I don't see it. Although it would definitely keep the advantage for white. I don't see what their threat is. So like if we go a3, what's their plan? g4 or something, or queen b4 trying to sort of come in. I don't really understand. So that tells me there must be a tactic. This is a puzzle trainer. So rook takes g5, pawn takes. I don't see the check. So by process of elimination, rook takes f6 must be correct because there doesn't seem to be anything else. Now, just to be careful, if we play rook f7, they take, we take. Oh, unless it's queen e5 check afterwards. Yeah, I like that idea. Because then when the king takes, we have queen f5 check, winning their rook. So yeah, rook f7, queen takes, then queen e5, then rook takes queen. They can't take us unless they want to. Yeah, because queen f5 winning their rook at the end. Okay, now I've got these wrong a lot of times. Pawn c4 check is pretty critical. They do queen e3, we have bishop d4, game over. Now, they do bishop e3. They do bishop e3, that's the annoying move. Then, pawn takes queen is a possibility. They do bishop takes queen. Thing is, our bishop's still being attacked. That's the downside. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes knight. Bishop d4, they've moved their king and they're alive. The thing is that I don't see what the alternative move is. There is bishop takes knight, and if they take with their queen, we take on e4. That's definitely the alternative, winning a pawn. It's not very glamorous, but it works. Although they would have pawn f5 afterwards, getting a nasty counterattack. If we don't move our bishop, they take it, unless we do some weird maneuver somehow. So pawn c4 is looking like the right move. And then perhaps there is something better than what I'm thinking of. But I don't see it. Alright, I'm just going to hope for the best with c4. Okay, it's correct. Bishop e3. Now this is the critical move. What about queen takes b2? I did look at that briefly, but I haven't really considered it first. That's bad play from me. I should have looked at it before playing c4, because I try and treat these like a real game. I should have seen that, sort of looked at it closely before playing this line. That seems to work, because their queen's attacked and their knight's going. Then queen takes pawn to save their queen, but then queen takes knight. They can't take our bishop because their queen's hanging. So we win a piece. Yeah, that was bad play. Very bad play from me. Alright, rook takes rook must be correct. Because why else would they? It wouldn't be like rook e3. They just have so many moves. Alright, so here it's the counting game. Okay, if king to g4, king to c3, king to h3, king to c4, takes b5, takes c6, h4 takes, h3, king e6, h2, d6, win. Now the other move is king to king to e4, like king c3, king takes, king d3. But I don't see how we win because they can make an outside part. They can make a pass pawn as well with sort of h3, g4, etc. I guess we'd have the outside passer. We would have the outside passer. All right. So what else is there? There's also their king running to the king side. So king g4, king c3, king h3, king d4, takes, king e4, takes g3, f5. We have to take it. They take back. h4, e6, h3 takes, h2 move the king, h1 queen, d6, and we win by quite a long way. So g4 I do see a concrete way to win, and e4 takes pawn. It's possible we're ahead, maybe, but I'm not certain it's winning. Like, it could be the case that it's a draw in these kind of positions. So king g4 appears to be winning. Okay, they've gone that way. Again, I do pause occasionally in my calculation. I don't see what else to do other than taking them. Oh, okay, that's considered the correct move. This position, rook e7 at some stage, looks very, very effective. And again, so rook e7, there's no way for them to attack our queen other than h6, and we just take on g6 mate. So their queen moves to somewhere, to g4. Yeah, g4 is looking like the square to go. Now, queen h6 is the line that I was looking at. If rook f7, maybe it's rook f to e2, takes, win, and if they do rook f8, it might be rook takes rook. They have to sit with their king, and then like queen takes h7 or something. So rook e7 looks like the right move. It is queen g4 that black's going to play, naturally. Alright, bishop takes g6 obviously can't work. Queen takes queen, bishop takes. I don't really see where we're going, so I think it has to be this move. And yeah, rook f7. So now we're at the crossroads. Where to go? Bishop g6, rook takes rook, bishop takes knight, queen g7. The thing that's kind of taking me away from rook takes rook is when they tip with their king, just queen takes h7. Don't really see where we go after that, but maybe we go. They can't block with their knight because the rook takes f4, so they have to move their king to the, I don't know, somewhere or other. They can't go to e8 because of bishop takes g6. They have to go to like f6, I think. And then, I don't know, maybe we do have something. Queen takes g6, doesn't work. Knight c7, or knight c3. going to e4. It's looking quite effective. Rook takes rook, king takes, queen takes h7, king to f8 is the other move. King to f8, queen h8 might be correct. King to e7 to not be skewered, rook to e2. Oh, but then bishop takes on, queen takes rook. Oh, and then queen h7. Winning the queen, so they'd have to move their king to d7 or something. D7. Oh, and then queen to h7. Winning. Okay, this appears to win a lot of material. So they have done king f6, right? That's the most complicated move. There is... Okay, so I have to analyze this quite deeply. Or at least to the point I feel comfortable. The candidate moves are knight c3, potentially mating them. Rook e2, threatening like queen e7 mate. Pawn takes pawn's illegal. Rook takes pawn doesn't work. Bishop anywhere. Bishop e2. I think they can just go queen like d7 or something and try and draw. So right, knight c3. How do they stop stuff? Actually, rook e2 is more forcing because it's essentially threatening mate. How to stop it? Rook d7. Rook d7, then queen h8, king g5, and I don't see where we're going. Knight c3 then. Knight e4 is basically unstoppable. And then where's their king going to go? e5? I mean, maybe they can just go king e5. It's possible. King e5, rook e2, king d4, and they're somehow not getting mated. Oh, but then there's like bishop takes g6 or whatever. Oh no, there isn't because the rook. No, the rook won't drop because the knight's guarding it. But yeah, we're somehow not mating them. It's unbelievable. There must be a mate somehow. There's bishop takes g6 though, which makes things easier. Knight moves to f8. Sorry, no, not f8, f6, I mean. There's also queen e7 check. Yeah, okay, they can't move king e5 because queen e7 is looking very effective. If knight c3 first. Knight c3, rook d7, knight to e4, king to e5. I guess queen h8 is a move. It's a line I'm not convinced by. Knight c3 does look good, but they do have their king running to e5, d4 somehow. So rook e2, let's return to that. Rook d7 is the move that is most likely to be what they'll play. Now, rook e6, check. Queen takes, and then queen takes g6, and I think it wins. Alright, rook e2 is what I'm going to go with. Or black can do that instead. Alright, again, I wasn't expecting that move. Okay. There's knight c3 now. Could be more effective. Because again, if like king e5, their knight's going to drop. And if knight c3, knight practically anywhere apart from f5, they get mated. So knight f5, knight e4 check, king to e5, knight f2, and winning. So knight c3 appears to be a winning move. Bishop anywhere doesn't look any good because we lose the rook at least. King moves obviously are terrible. Pawn moves terrible. Queen moves, they're the only other thing to look at. Queen g6 I don't believe in. Queen to h6 doesn't threaten anything, so I think knight c3. Yes, okay. Okay, that was quite a long puzzle I think, but it was worth it to get the right answer. It's been a 45 minutes so far in this video. Only got one wrong. 52 is a good score. So next one, Queen G5 is the natural move to play. Queen to F3 is a move. But then Knight G3 and there's no checks. Or even actually King to H4. King to H4 is easier. Queen takes Knight, they get mated. So G6, then Queen to H6. And again they get mated, I think. It's Queen G5. It's the natural move. Okay, they've gone G6, alright. Well, Queen H6 feels too easy somehow. Definitely feels like it's too easy, but then again, I don't see what else we can do. Queen F1, King H4, Queen E1, Knight G3. There's Rook C3 check. Knight takes C3, Queen F3, King H4, Queen takes F6. Is that a draw? Oh no, King G3 at the end. And there's no follow-up checks. Yeah, I believe Queen H6. Queen F3, okay. So they're doing this line. Now, Knight G3, Queen takes F6. So I believe King H4 is correct. So I hope it is. Knight G3 is the only other option. Knight G3, Queen takes F6. I don't see where in the world this is going, apart from Knight to like F5 or Knight to H5. But then again, they just check. So yeah, King to H4. G5 check, okay, have to be careful here. Essentially, Knight takes G5 would be correct. Unless Queen takes G5 is right. Backpedaling now. Right, so, okay, let's exclude King H5. Because then there's Queen H3. King takes, Queen takes Queen, and there's no mate. But white is maybe level. Maybe. So, taking the pawn is the only move. But which way to take it? King takes pawn, again, Queen F4. And they trade queens. So King takes is out of the question. Queen and Knight takes are the only moves. The thing is that if Queen takes, they go King F8. I don't see how we mate them. We do win some pawns and stuff. But I don't see it. Knight takes G5, on the other hand, is actually threatening mate on G7. But Knight takes G5, Queen to F2. If King H3, we're getting mated. I think. Yeah, we're getting mated. And if King H5, Queen takes H2. And then we have to give up our knight, and it's pretty embarrassing. So Queen takes is therefore the correct move by process of elimination. I didn't think there was a mate, but it was good. We'd win the game with an extra pawn or so. I think we'd win the exchange in the end. Alright, on to the next one. Material is about equal, but okay, pawn down for full disclosure. Knight F6 is a thematic move, it doesn't work. Rook to C7 is looking like the move I would do. Because of the fact that their bishop is on E7 being attacked. Rook takes E7 would be the next move, and then Knight F6 would look extremely good as a possibility if we want to go positional style. But also just bishop takes rook is the simple move. So rook C7. Their rook on B5 goes somewhere. Rook to B6. Rook takes E7, rook takes Knight F6. I don't actually see where how to proceed from there, so maybe that's not correct. I just like these Knight F6 moves. They always look good. There is Queen A4 though. That's the simple or more simple move. Queen to a6. Then, where do they go? Do they go bishop a6? Then I think that rook d4 might be correct, because they're being sort of double pinned. And then rook b to b8, bishop takes bishop. So, yeah, queen a4. Oh, the bishop takes. All right. So rook b to b8 is the move if we take their bishop. So I think queen takes rook would be right here. So we're threatening their rook and their bishop at the same time. Yeah. And then queen takes rook check. Okay, cool. So the first move was the only one really that caused a lot of problems. Oh wow! All right, now this position is looking pretty horrible for white, but I don't see the threat. At least not yet. I mean, they have bishop takes c3 or bishop a1 even, actually. Bishop a1 is quite funny. Bishop takes c3 is also good. So we need to somehow disrupt them. They do have some material disadvantage, right? They've got a knight. They've lost a knight so far. So queen takes bishop is like, or queen takes knight are the interesting moves. Pawn takes g7. I feel like that wouldn't be right. I feel like there must be something here, because their king is incredibly weak. Yeah, their king is actually really weak here. So why not knight b5 takes c7? Knight b5, queen c5 is the only defending move. Huh. Queen c5, then maybe like I don't know. This is very, very difficult actually, this one. There's knight d5 actually. That might make things easier. Knight d5. That would not protect their c4 knight. Be an interference tactic. Bishop takes is illegal. Knight takes bishop is the only move I see. Then like rook takes, and we're actually threatening quite a lot of stuff. So knight d5 is looking quite good as a move, but there is also pawn f5, which which is the alternative. So pawn f5, they just do bishop takes knight, I think. It's not looking very nice, it's not looking pleasant. But the thing with knight d5 is they have like bishop takes f6, or bishop d4. Threatening mate on b2. And if bishop c1 to avoid the checkmate, knight d2 check, and they're mating us. Oh dear, alright, there must be a solution here. They've got so many mate threats that basically as long as we don't lose material, it's probably correct. That might be the way to look at it. Oh dear, this is very, very complicated. Right. Knight to b5. They have to move their queen somewhere or other. So queen c5. Then just don't see how to do anything after that. Like knight c7, they just take it. Queen e5, they do knight takes or bishop takes. There's no defense there. Queen to e4, queen takes I don't know, maybe queen e4. It looks again very, very dangerous. Queen to e4, they do queen takes the knight. We do bishop takes knight. They do queen takes queen. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna say knight b5 then. No, it's wrong. Okay, I'll be interested to see what the answer is there. All right, and maybe finally, because I could go wrong at any moment. This one looks like there's some sort of checkmating pattern here. We are down a minor piece, but their siege knight is all the way on the other side of the board. Queens and knights usually team up really well in checkmating. So there's queen g1, queen e1. Those are the two options I see. Queen to e1, king to g2, queen to e2? Maybe? Yeah, queen to e2, king g3. Doesn't seem to be any progress being made. Oh, unless h4 is the move. After that. Oh no, queen takes check. Okay, so queen g1 is basically the move then. Queen g1. And then maybe like, is it queen f2 afterwards? And then potentially sort of smothered mate style. Okay, so that's the first move. Now our knight is being attacked, so we have to deal with that. Knight f3, queen takes, g5, king h5. There doesn't seem to be a solution after that move. So queen f2, queen e1. Which one would be correct? Queen f2. The thing is, they both lose the knight. Queen. Yeah, queen f2, king takes. Doesn't appear to do anything. I mean, there might be a draw that I'm missing somewhere, but it's not exactly what I want. I don't really like to. I mean, maybe forcing the draw is correct, but it's definitely something I'd look at last. So let's see, what other moves are there? There's king to h6, which is actually an interesting move. King h6. Where do they go? If their queen moves, they probably get mated. If their knight moves to e5, that looks like a reasonable move. So knight to e5. Then queen h1 doesn't do anything, but there is queen. There's queen e3, e1, queen to g3, and then queen h1. Yeah, I like king h6. Okay, they've done their queen move. So actually that's quite a nice move. They've stopped all the checks. So queen h1 is the only check left. King g3. Is it queen h3? And then just like keep checking them. So queen h1. Yes, okay, so there was more than one solution at the very end. Oh dear. Now this one I would have thought was obvious, but then again, I've been wrong before. Wow, alright. So there's queen e3 check. Rook f2 is forced. More or less. Then perhaps it's pawn takes pawn, because then g3 is being threatened. Okay, that just looks too good. Alright, so queen takes bishop. They have like, no, pawn g5. And then it's a game. Like, you know, we're maybe slightly ahead, but I don't know. Maybe behind even. Pawn takes pawn, though, just looks so aggressive. It's the right kind of move to have in these positions. Okay, so now they're threatening queen takes pawn and taking our rook. I don't want either of those things to happen. So b6 is looking obvious. No, it's not. Okay, never mind. 55 is good enough. There might have been a move there, like queen takes, like rook h1 or something, but I didn't want to, you know, make it really, really complicated like that. Maybe it was just rook e8 and then king g8. I thought this was a simple move though. b6. It made the queen move, lose the tempo essentially, and then we could go g3. Oh no, queen takes a7, that's why. It's queen takes a7, which allows queen takes f7 mate. Yeah, that's a silly idea. So, right, if you'll indulge me the last minute or two before I end the video. It's been like literally an hour, so I will finish in the next moment or two. I just want to see what the solutions were, the ones I got wrong. So this first one was... Oh, it was just the... Okay, alright. So it was the more simple queen a5 check, and then win the knight that way. Knight b4 probably doesn't work, because there's... Maybe it's just knight d5, and they lose the exchange, but they don't lose a knight, and that's... Losing the exchange is not as bad as losing a knight. Alright, that's my error there. Fair enough. So that one was... I think it's still good for black, but it wasn't as good. Now this one was very interesting. I did think about sacking the queen for 2 pieces, because then it would be 3 pieces for a queen, and that would eliminate the attack. But what am I missing? It was knight d5. Okay. Yeah, all right. So I did look at the right move then, with knight d5. But instead of castling, which is like the least interesting move, bishop d4. What am I missing after bishop d4? Because it's mate in 1 after queen b2. Is it bishop c1? Is that what I'm missing? I suppose it would be, yeah. There's no... Yeah, because I'd analysed bishop d4, bishop c1, knight d2 check, takes, then queen takes a2 mate, but of course the knight on d5 is preventing the bishop on e6, protecting the queen. So yeah, I had the right move, I just miscalculated. That's annoying. Alright, and then the final one is probably going to be playing like rook e1 or something. Yeah, I think my best ever score is in the 50s. It's like 59 or 58 or 60 or something like that. Might even be as low as 56. But 55 is pretty solid for an attempt. It was rook c8, yeah, stopping the check, and then g3. So yeah, I had the right idea, I just didn't find the right intermediary move. Never mind, it was still a good score. And does it say what the leaderboard is? It doesn't seem to say that. Alright, that's the 55 being a very, very good score. If I refresh the page, maybe it'll give me the global best scores for the hour. I do have a bit of an ego, see what the best score is in the world at the moment. It did show it, but it doesn't seem to let me scroll down. I think it said 56 was the best was the current best score. So for the hour at least in the world. So I have just missed out on top score. I think I'd be joint second then. Still not bad. Hope you liked the video, and I'll be going back to playing regular chess in the next one. I'm just doing classical and blitz, trying to get those up 2400 to match my rapid play. Right, see you next time. Bye.